Hi everyone, it's Sarah from Painter Creator. I'm just carry on doing a couple more in this little series, this little mini series of minis, because they're 10 centimetre square papers from Timu that I'm using. On one side they're smooth, really nice for florals, the smooths, and then the other side is grained. It's quite a rough texture, so I've used the texture on a horizontal, but you can use it on a vertical really nicely, especially if you're going to do trees and things like that. So I've just drawn a line that's roughly halfway across on this one, and then another line that's probably about a third of the way up from that. I often don't use that halfway line, and I might just move it up a little bit for the sea, but we'll see how we go. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to use a little bit of cadmium yellow. I'm using my Winsor & Newton watercolour, Cotman watercolour paints, and my little mop brush today, and a little bit of alizarin crimson. I'm going to make a nice sort of sunsetty colour to get going with. So there's number one. I'm going to just get a bit more alizarin crimson and a bit of that into there to make a yellower colour. And I'm just going to, I don't know, I've got splashes on maybe. So this is the sky. I'm just building in, using those two colours, a bit of a sunset feel. I'm going to drop that horizon line a little bit for the sea. I'm making that sort of first wash. Just mixing those two colours, and then I'm just going to drop in some more cadmium yellow on the palette, and then some alizarin crimson straight on the palette, off the palette, just to add a bit of warmth into that. Just going to add a touch of ultramarine blue into this alizarin crimson. Oh, that's a big touch, isn't it? Put a bit more alizarin crimson in there to just put some clouds across. Remember, when you're working wet in wet, you can do most things. And it's smaller clouds at the front, bigger clouds at the top. It just builds a little bit of colour. I'm just going to pick this yellow up. And just drop it into those spaces. And I'm going to let that dry and see where we're at. Oh, before I do that, I might lift out a little bit of sunshine, bit of a sunset colour. I'm just getting a small cap. So this one's off one of my masking fluid. Just put the paper towel over it, and I'm just going to lift off. I don't know, we're going to have the sunset about here. So a single sunset, nice way of getting a fairly round mark. I'm just going to go in and soften that around. But a nice way of just getting that sunset in. Right, okay, stop fiddling, Sarah. We're going to give it a pause while this dries, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so we're dry now. I've used my hairdryer for that. So I'm just going to add a little bit of turquoise blue with a touch of red light, cadmium red light into it, just to drop it a little bit grayer, because we don't want that brightness of the sea. And I just want a fairly horizontal mark across, and I'm just going to leave some little bits on the sea as waves. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more turquoise into there. Just to darken it. It's easier to darken once you have that first wash on. And as always, it's easier to darken watercolour than to add, than to make it lighter. There we go, I've got a little bit of a land bit, I think, over there, but it doesn't matter. So again, I'm going to just let this dry. I'm on quite a low energy day today, so these little minis are perfect for those sort of low energy days. Okay, so I'm back with you. We've dried this one off now. If what you wanted was to just do the beach, because you've done the sky, you've done the mid-ground, you could do the foreground with just the beach and drop some sand in. You could then drop a couple of sand dunes. It would be beautiful. Love that. And I think I've got a little mini of that. If I haven't, I will make one. But for this one, I'm going to imagine that I'm sat in the sort of sand dunes looking out over the sea. So I'm just going to drop a little tiny bit of beach. So that's just a little bit of yellow ochre. And it may or may not show at some point, but I'm just having a little sort of sense of the beach within that. I quite like how that orange is sort of moulded into here. It's come really nicely. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of yellow ochre straight from the palette as like a base to the sand dunes. And then I'm going to mix up some greens. So I'm going to use a bit of cadmium yellow because that's the yellow base that I've been using, and a little bit of turquoise for. I'm just going to add a little bit of ultramarine blue. I think I might have picked a bit of phthalo blue up by accident, so add a bit more yellow in there. So I want a fairly light, brightish, springish green, and I'm just going to add some base to the sand dunes. It's not going to have any gap in, isn't this one? I want to do like a bit of a, I'm just putting like the shape of what I'm after on, and putting a base to work from. So I'm conscious that I don't want the two sides to be the same, so I'm just going to raise this one up to make sure that this goes further over, this is smaller, it's got a sense of depth in it, so I'm just going to add a little bit of burnt sienna into that mix and just start to build some sense of grasses and undergrowth within that. Just random little movements of my mop brush. I'll soon be moving. Just going to add a little bit of yellow ochre into there, or burnt umber woodwork as well, raw umber, sorry, woodwork. Just to add a bit of light into this foreground and maybe into here. Okay, so I'm going to rest again. Quite like this little halo of beach that we've got. I'm going to let that dry, or I might actually make it dry with, get some fluid on. So I'm going to pick up some of this sort of purple and magenta colour now, because I just want a colour that's going to stand out a little bit. A mixture of purple and the magenta, quite bright. So again, I'm going to just add a little bit of cadmium red light to it. That was maybe more than a little bit, so I better make a bit more. And it just, the cadmium red light just knocks back the tone a little bit. It's quite a useful, so I've got a nice bright purpley colour, and I'm going to just drop it. So I've moved on to my size 4 brush, and I'm just starting to drop in, I don't know, there might be grasses or gorse or something. And I'm just adding randomly this nice purple colour into the mix. I'm still trying to get that sort of sense of this is like a pathway, or there's a space here that you can look through, but I want that sense of being in the sand dunes. And I'm just going to add a little bit of ultramarine into here to make a darker purple. And perhaps I needed a smaller brush, I don't know, I quite like it. And I'm trying to keep it as random as I can. I don't want that feeling of it being too orchestrated. It's a wild space, is the sand dunes, and I quite like the wildness of the space. So I'm trying to sort of capture some of that. So shifting now onto my little number 0 rigger, and I'm going to make quite a bright green, so ultramarine and cadmium yellow, nice bright green, and I'm going to just drop some green up some of these stems. starting to craft sort of a bit of dimension with the colours. A bit of bushes. And dragging that green through the existing purple. It's quite a nice way of creating that sort of depth of, first depth of the grasses. Painting off the masking tape, which helps just create a little bit more of a sense of a foreground. We're just starting to build this foreground up. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm going for burnt sienna and ultramarine into that green mix. Classic dark. With that hint of green, which is there. Could add a hint of purple. Let's put that mix into the purple as well. To start just building up some as it's dusk, it's the sun's dropping and we're just building that randomness of the grasses. That's quite a key one that I've just put up there. I'm just going to put a bit more of a emphasis on it. It's just off centre and it just draws the eye a little bit towards that sun. As Bob Ross would say, there's happy accidents along the way. I'm just building up some texture using these two sets of darks to just add a little bit of a feel of grasses and moorland across the top of the sand dunes. It's quite therapeutic just building up grassy textures. I'm just getting my little mop brush, taking some of the water out. I'm just going to soften under some of these clumps that we've made. Just some clean water. Some more of that dark. Touch the edge on a tissue. I'm just going to have a few little goals. I was always trying to sort of change the direction that they're flying. Is always quite nice, a challenge. And if you want, you can just build up this front line with the watercolour. I might just get a little bit of pen and ink onto there once it's dry. So let's give that a dry with the hairdryer. Be back in a minute. So this is nice and dry now. Now you can go back in with this with a really fine watercolour brush and do the last bits of whatever with the watercolour, but I'm just using my 0.3 pen fine liner. It's indelible ink, so it's permanent ink, and I just find it a much easier way of doing these sort of last bits of grasses, and it just brings some bits forward and allows you just to relax a bit more and add what you want. And then you can just grab your nice little, so this is a 0.3, so it's a really fine little brush. Bit of Dr. Martens white, bleed proof, straight from the tub. Take the excess off on a paper towel if you've got a big blob on the end like I have just there. And you can just pick out some highlights and draw some bits of grass that are perhaps catching the sun a bit more, and highlight the edge of some of these flowers. You can even drop a highlight under the birds, especially the ones that are getting caught on the sun. And then all you do is you take your brush, give it a wash, a little bit of water on it, and then you just soften the bottom of the way. And it'll just push back. Nice way of, oops, don't multiple dab, as I have just then. Nothing's lost, it's fine. And you can leave it at that. Shall I have a go at signing my name in paint? I think I much prefer it in ink. I think I'll go over that in ink. Just wipe it away. I'll grab the ink pen. Let's just give it a sign. Nice. So there we are, my low energy mini today. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, as usual, can you like, subscribe, comment, all the rest of it, share with your friends. I do offer a one-to-one tuition if you'd like that. Please get in touch, and always peel your masking tape away. But most of all, remember, we're having fun. If it's stress, don't do it. So here we are, little mini for today, bit of a sunset over the sand dunes. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you soon.